Tigerchicksresinjungle. So for my last fall project for the month of September, I decided to do these two moon molds. One is a set of cats and one is a fairy. And what I've done is I've taken a hot glue gun and I've created a barrier at the base of the fairy and at the base of the cats so that I can pour the moons and not have them be the same color, not have the cats and the fairies be the same color as the moons. But I'm not just going to pour them. I'm going to use some silicone inlays that I created. Now, I got this mold from Hobby Lobby. It's a very thin mold. I think it's for cake decorating or something. And I created some silicone inlays out of it. So I've got some leaves, a couple of different kinds of leaves. And what I'm going to do is I am going to put the leaves into the moons. And then I'm going to let that cure, pull out my inlays, and then color the leaves or do something to the leaves before I fill them completely with resin and figure out what I'm going to do with my fairy and my cat. Okay, so what I've decided is I'm going to pour the cats and I'm going to use this glow-in-the-dark orange-yellow powder to color the moon. I want the moon to kind of glow. Then for the fairy, I'm just going to pour her moon clear, and then we'll back her with something. So, because this is a luminous powder, I'm going to try grinding it up a little bit so it's finer and not so gritty. And so that it doesn't sink, I'm going to try adding some glue to it to hopefully keep all of the powder from sinking to the front of the moon. So we're going to get to that and see how that works out. So let me move my fairy and my cat. I'm not sure how much I'm going to need. That should be good. I don't want the moon to be I don't want it to be super yellow. Super yellow, but I do want it to be a little bit yellow. Maybe the end of this brush. I don't have a mortar and a pedestal, so let's see if this will work. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go with that. Now look what I've done. I've gone and messed up the bottom of my pretty little brush. That's okay. It's just a brush. Alright. I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to mix up 4 ounces. I have no idea how much these molds take. They could take an ounce or 2 each. I am putting in inlays, so I don't want them to be super full. But I do want them to be full enough that I can put the inlays in. So I'm going to mix up my resin and I'll be back. Okay, so I mixed up my resin and I'm going to pour a little bit of clear into the fairy because I'm pouring her with a clear moon. And the cats are going to have that luminous moon. And what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to tilt it a little bit just to get the resin to flow through the entire moon so that it's even and it covers the entire moon so I can put my inlays in. And then what I'm doing is to try and minimize the bubbles in the inlays, I'm spraying them each with alcohol before I put them into the mold. So each one I give a little spritz and then I put it into the resin. And by doing that, I'm hoping I'm going to eliminate the bubbles. And if I can hang on to it, that'd be good. So just pick it up and spritz it and stick it back in. So I'm going to do this with each of the inlays for the different leaves and put them throughout the moon. Okay, so I've sped this up a little bit so you don't have to watch me do it in real time, and I'm not going to make you watch me do the same thing for the cat. So basically for the cat, I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to pour the colored resin into the moon for the cat, and then I'm going to lay the inlays of the leaves into the cat mold. So in a minute, here you'll see both molds with the inlays in them. Okay, so we're back. I poured a layer of resin the other day, and I put in these silicone inlays. So now I need to get the silicone inlays out. Let's see how this works. There we go. There's one. Ooh, look at that. That's going to be nice. All right. Gotta get the rest of them out now. And they pull out like a dream. All right. I just have to make sure that I don't separate my mold from my edges here, because I do want to pour another layer in here once I get all these silicone pieces out. And after I decide what I'm going to do with the leaves. Now, I was debating about potentially putting some of these leaf glitters in the leaves, maybe. That one's done. Let's get this one now. This one I poured clear. This one has some glow-in-the-dark pigment in it. And these are just coming out so easily. So easily. All right. Now, let's see. I have to figure out how I want to do this, because I do want to do the moon again. And I want to try and keep my fairy and my cats separate from the moon. I don't want them to be the same color as the moon. So, let's see. All right, we're going to have that. And we're going to have this. And okay, I figured it out. I'm going to do this chameleon on this one. It's a purplish red, blue, green color, which I'm going to do in the leaves. Then I'm going to paint the cats a different color, and I'm going to back it in black. Now, the resin that's in here already is a glow-in-the-dark orange yellow, so when you back it in black, I think it's going to look really cool. For the fairy, I decided I'm going to do the leaves in a different chameleon. It's called grass green crimson, and I'm going to do those in that, and then I'm going to back that moon in this orange-red mica powder. I'm hoping it's more orange than red. I'm thinking like an orange harvest moon kind of a thing going on. And I'm hoping that'll bring out the colors of this mica, this chameleon mica. Then I just have to figure out what I'm doing with the fairy and the cats. So I got to figure that out next. Let me figure that out, because the next layer of resin is going to cover everything. So I've got to figure out what I'm doing with my cat and my fairy first before I pour. But I can color. So let's do that first. Let's do some color. Gonna do some color. Let's move the fairy out of the way for now, because I don't need her to be colored when I'm not ready for her to be colored. So we'll move her to the side and cover her up. I may have to do a little cleaning on this afterwards, but that's okay. So let's move my cat and things into the middle here. I'm going to pull this off because it makes it easier to get to my colors. And I'm going to paint this right on the leaves. And I'm hoping that it's going to look really cool when I'm done with it. At least that's the plan. So we'll see. But this is the first time I'm using inlays in my resin. So we'll see how this goes. Like I said, I'm going to have to do a little bit of cleanup here because my mica powders are getting everywhere. Because, you know, they're mica powders and that's what they do. I will blow them out afterwards. I'm going to try and make sure they're burnished in really well. And then I'll have to clean up my moon a little bit because my moon has got already chameleon mica powder all over it. But I'll worry about that after I get them colored. Oops. Helps if I color inside the lines. Oh, that was a bit much. I can't wait to see how this turns out. Some burnished in. I will have to do some cleanup in the moon itself because, like I said, it's going everywhere. But I can't wait to see how this turns out. I'm not used to doing a multi-day project, so this is a first. Usually I pour, I come back, it's done. This one I had to pour, wait for it to cure, pull out all of the inlays that I put into the moon. So I figured, you know, moon, leaves, that makes sense. It'll kind of look like the leaves are blowing, or at least I think it will. So, and it kind of makes it, you know, fall themed. Almost done with this one. Then I just got to clean it up, and then we can move on to the leaves on the cat, or on the fairy. Can do my coloring first. So, let's see here. Right. That's these ones. Alright, put this back on so I don't spill it, because that would be horrible. Just horrible. Okay, let me blow this out. Alright, so that one's done. Now let's color up my fairy here. And she's going to be in this color. I gotta clean up my brush. There we go. Okay. And I'm sure I'll have to clean my moon. You know what, thinking about it, let's cover this other moon. Because I don't want to have to clean it up again. I already cleaned it up once. Pull this out. Alright, we're going to do, get this cleaned up a little bit. There we go. Alright, let's see how we can do this. I need to completely cover my moon. I've got an idea. I'll be right back. So what I did is I wrapped my moon in cellophane. Because what I'm about to do, if I don't wrap the moon, is going to be a bit, just a wee tad bit messy. So, I don't want it to be messy. So I'm going to do it and wrap it. There we go. Okay, so that's wrapped. I've covered my other moon for the moment. going to go with the color I used on the moon for the leaves and put it in the fairy, along with another color which I haven't decided yet. But we're going to see how this turns out. So I'm going to do this, what I've heard is called the chuck it all in method. You just kind of splatter your mica powder wherever you want. Okay, I've done that color in there. And I want this one, purplish red golden. We're going to do this one next. And I'm going to do the same thing. Just going to kind of dip my Q-tip in here. And then kind of just tap it along. Alright, so now I'm going to give it a nice spritz with some alcohol. So that everybody kind of blends. Okay, that takes care of that one. Now we're going to move that. I can actually take this all off now, because I don't need it on there. The other one, I will bring her back. Don't worry. Okay, so I just covered the cat so that it wouldn't get anything in it. So now I need to color my cat. Okay, I've got a silver gray and a silver white, these two colors. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of mix them. I also need some tape. So I'm going to color them in black. And oh look, it's not open. First, because I want them to be basically black or gray kitties. I do like this collection mat by Resin. It does make cleanup a lot easier, because, you know, if you spill something on it, especially if it's resin, you just pull it off. It's silicone. And if you spill anything else on it, like I just did with my mica powder, you just dump it off. Then you can wash the whole thing. Alright, so my kitties have now got, hopefully, slightly gray tails. Okay. Alright, so let me blow this off. There we go. Okay, kitties are now silvery gray black. And what I'm going to do, to try this with this tape, because I don't know if I have other tape. I'm going to try, and it's a very small area, so, you know, probably should have done this on a bigger mold, but whatever. I'm just going to try and peel off some of the mica powder using this tape. Well, that tape's used up now. Pull off some of the mica powder. As you can see, some of it's come off. Alright, that should be good. So now, as we said before, whatever touches your silicone first is what you see. So when I use the tape, it pulled off a little bit of the gray, and now I'm covering it in the silver. And I'm not worrying about the sides, I just want the cats themselves. I just did a little bit there. Alright, that should be good. I don't know. The other day, I think I mixed up 4 ounces for these guys. So, it might take the same 4 ounces. I'll go with 4 ounces again. I'm hoping that'll look good, maybe. I'll give the moon some, yeah, we're going to do it with the glitter black and the orange. Alright, let me put my PPE on, get my resin mixed up, and I'll be back. My resin's mixed up, and I'm putting some alcohol in with my mica powder to just kind of mix it up before I add my resin to it. So I just want it to be mixed a little bit so that it makes it easier to mix it into the resin. And I actually, for the fairy, I used that orange, and then I actually decided afterwards I didn't want it so orangey, I wanted it more goldy, so I actually added another color to the orange, which you'll see here in a minute. This is a different color to make it more gold toned than orange toned. So now I'm just mixing up my resin and stirring in the mica powders. In this way, I can pour them shortly. So, how do you think these are going to turn out? I guess hindsight's 20/20. What I was thinking and what it turned out like don't always turn out the same. So I have to figure out how to get what I'm thinking to actually do what I want in my resin or in my molds. So they turned out good. You'll see them at the end. But what I was envisioning isn't what I managed to make. I still like them, but maybe I'll try it again at a different time and get the vision to match. So my mica's all mixed up, my resin's all mixed up, and now I'm going to pour my resin into my moon. So I started with the kitties, and I'm pouring the black resin into my kitties and into my moon to back the back of the moon. And as you can see, you can still kind of see the leaves through the black, so I didn't make it a completely opaque black. It's still semi-translucent. And now I'm taking my dotting tool and I'm just trying to go around to make sure that I don't have any air bubbles trapped from pouring in my resin. So I'm going around my cats. I'm going to go around the moon a little bit. And then I'm going to do basically the same thing with the fairy. So my kitties are almost done. I'm just going to top them off. I want to be able to run my dotting tool around them. And if it's too full, when you run the dotting tool around them, it spills, and I don't want to spill anything. Especially since I have to move them. Because, as I've said before, this is my working area, and off to the side that you guys can't see is where I put them to cure. So here I'm moving it off, and now we're moving on to the fairy, and I'm pouring my colors into my fairy. I should have probably resprayed the alcohol onto the fairy. I thought about it afterwards, because I'm sure the alcohol dried, and I wanted it to be more liquidy when I poured my resin in. So it's a learning experience. That was the first time I did the sprinkling of mica powder on the mold, spritzing it with alcohol, and then pouring resin on top of it. Next time I'll know, okay, do all that and then spritz it like right before I'm going to pour the resin. And then I'm just making sure I get all of the last little bits out of my cup so that I don't have too much extra. I do have some extras because I did have extra left over because I didn't even think about it. I should have paid attention to how much each mold took, but I didn't. So I have extra. I'll make extras. So you'll see later that I did make some extras. I didn't put them in the video as to making of them, so I believe the way that I did it is you'll just kind of see them done at the end. All right, and for the main events, dun, 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 dun. All right, do we want to do the cats or the fairy first? Let's do the cats. All right, so I did a black background. I painted the cats. And as you can kind of see, if you look through here, you can see the leaves a little bit on the other side from the inlay. Now I'm hoping that I didn't break the seal on this at all. A little soft, like I said, still. So I will lay them flat and let them finish curing all the way. But I'm impatient and I wanted to see how they looked. All right. Okay. So I got a little clearing up to do on the edges. It's okay. Let's turn him over and see how he looks. Ooh. Okay. Well, you can kind of see that glue that I added here to make the separation, but it's okay. It's the first time I've done that to make a separation, so I wasn't quite sure. Once I got it in there and everything dried, I was afraid to try and pull it out because I was afraid it would separate the resin from the mold, and I didn't want it to separate because then the black would have poured into the yellow. But the black didn't pour into the yellow, and my leaves are awesome. How are those? Those are so very cute. And you can't really see what I did with the tape so much because the colors were so similar. Next time I'll do really different colors, but it was a black cat, so how different could it be? I'm going to throw this in my UV light just to give it a nice blast of UV so we can see if the glow in the dark works. In the meantime, while that's doing that, let's demold our fairy and see how she turned out. Pretty good. Okay, she's out. All right, and again, I'll have a little bit of cleanup here, and we'll let her hands and her feet dry. All right, let's turn her over. Okay. All right, I like the splattering of the color in the fairy. My leaves are good. They don't necessarily blend right into my background, which is good. Because again, how many colors can you do? Moons. I wanted to go with moon colors, so I figured an orange moon would be good. But she looks pretty cute. All right, let's put her over here and let her cure. All right, let's see. Okay, the moon glows. Cool. I'm sure it needs a better blast of UV light, and you can still see the leaves in it, which is what I was going for. I didn't just want a plain moon, but I wanted there to be leaves in the moon so you could kind of see the leaves through the moon. So it did what I wanted, and it glows in the dark. We're in. And the flower glows. Check her out. Isn't that pretty? I like it. I dig that it glows. All right. Oh, and the snail glows. Look at that. What do you think? Is that pretty cool or what? His shell glows a lot more than his body, but that's okay. I like it. There is more color in his shell than there was in his body. But he's very cool. Bring everybody back in for one final hello and goodbye. There's our cat moon. Here's our fairy. And you notice when you pour them, they're facing the opposite directions than they are in the molds. So the fairy looked like this in the mold. When you pull her out, she's facing the other direction. Same with the cats. The cats are facing this way. You pull them out, they're facing that way. So you can face them either way if you pour them differently. I poured them expecting that they would face this way. But if you say didn't want your moon to face this way and you wanted your moon to face this way, you're just going to have to pour it differently. You're going to have to pour it so that the colors that you want to see are on this side and not on this side. So the same thing with the fairy. If you want her to face a different direction, say this way, you're going to have to pour her so that the colors are on this side and not this side. So we're going to have to let them cure a little bit more. We've got my little flowers. They glow in the dark. So this was my final fall video. I hope everybody enjoyed it. So thank you for watching. My next video will be Halloween. Ooh. All right. See you then. Bye.